World. I'm Jesse. That's Paul. Let's talk L5R, man. We love doing
Yeah,
it.
so we're doing strategies now. We've been doing a card by card breakdown of the New Order spoiled set. I hope somebody has found this on the internet and at least watched a few and enjoyed it a little bit. Are you starting to feel it? Are you starting any fatigue yet, or are you still pumped to be working your way through the new cards?
It's 12:15 a.m. here in China. I just got back from work after 8 hours of hardcore teaching. But you know what? L5R energizes me, man. I can do this all day, all night, and let's prove it right
New
here and
set
right
and
now.
new strategies. This is one of those when you work through attachments and personalities. It's cool. It's fun. They can have a lot of impact, but there's just something about jumping into all the strategies because you never quite know what you're in for. You never quite know what the underlying thematics are. You never quite know where the next victory through deference is or the next, just guerrilla tactics. I mean, who knows what the future can hold? So. It's always a challenge to identify the best cards. I dare say it's a desperate struggle.
This is a great card. It reminds me a lot of Route, which was a card that I liked when it was printed first in Lotus, and I liked again when it was reprinted in Emperor Edition. Uh, this is even better though because the Ring of Earth is a real card, Dragon is a real faction, and this totally lets you get people. I think
Okay,
that
well, I mean, let's back off a little bit. This isn't route, okay? It's restricted to targeting defensive guys, so it's for very aggressive decks. And it's not going to replace Incapacitated. You're going to end up probably running it alongside Incapacitated with perhaps your Lion Deathseeker who can't possibly defend. And it's a good card. There's no abundant farmland. Like, that's going to rotate out in a couple of months, so I don't know how easily paying a 1 gold cost is. But yeah, Unstoppable Battle, go away is very good.
well,
There's a
so it's
bunch
a
of
one
movement.
gold. It's a 1 gold battle action that sends a guy home. You're not going to give me Route.
No, because Route was like way better value, right? You could use it defensively and it blew up an attachment.
All
If
right,
Route existed, it would be one of the best battle actions in the format. This is no Route. This is
this
not
is
in.
this is my friend and business partner Paul Ashman.
It's a,
Uh, his superpower is that he takes the wind out of all the sails. This is a good card.
I am my
We've
very own,
made
like
we went through all the other cards up so far. We've talked about Unstoppable as it's appeared, mostly, not mostly, exclusively on ranged attacks, melee attacks, and fear attacks. Of those, we've said that its fear is the best. With this card, we can revise that opinion and say it's best on send home effects because it's the most powerful swing when it sticks, and it
right.
always sticks.
It's best on good actions, and it turns out fear kinda lousy.
Yeah. Unit removal. They still could have a back to the front. They still could have a ring of water type effect. This does not
And they
bow and
will.
sends
There's
home.
a bunch of move back in. We're gonna start running into some disciplined move back in. But when you really want somebody to go away and they're defending, nothing's gonna do the job better than this.
Yeah, the fact that it's only on the attack actually is a bit of an advantage. You attack into a defensive honor type deck, they're not going to be packing the move back in actions. They're going to be packing the move out actions. So it might
And
see some mileage.
there's always defend with your guy, do something, run away. Like I mean, it still has flexibility. It's a fine card.
Yeah, I'm bullish on this card, but its power in the environment is going to end up being whatever is going to be. Is going to end up being very environmentally determined. If everyone's playing move back in, it's not going to be so hot. All right, a good death. Today's a
Okay,
good day
well,
to die.
you're the king of let's have a million focus effects, and this card has a focus effect. How do you feel about that?
It's a gain honor focus effect, which means that it's not so bad. In a defensive type deck that plays duels, you can slap down a duel, gain 3 or 4 honor from your focus effects, and feel really good about that.
And after they kill your thing, you can gain +2 force and resilient and gain 2 honor. So the one of these that matters is the gain 2 honor, because if you have enough cards that say gain 2 honor, you will hit 40 honor. I think that you'll see it. So like if you're playing a duel, it's a 4 focus card, it's got a focus effect. I defend with some guys, I play one of my duels, you kill one of my guys, I gain some force and resilient and gain 2 honor as an interrupt, and then I duel again. That seems all pretty solid to me. It's a reactive card in that it doesn't like if it just sits in you like if they don't kill your guy and you don't focus it, it doesn't do anything. But a card that says gain 2 honor is going to see play. I mean, it just did.
Absolutely. And with the number of small, so what really get little courtier defensive decks or even defensive dueling decks is these little like range 2, range 3 effects that are floating around all over the place. So what
Yep.
this card kind of lets you do is defend with a couple guys. One gets shot, and then you boost up the next one. Now the +2 force is really relevant because it can put you out of range of all of their ranged attacks and stuff. Maybe
Yep.
put you to 5 force, and then it will allow you to sit around through their bow effects, have presence, take a couple more actions, and then pass through.
Resilience really neat too because it makes you do something else. They can't just go like, "Well, I have more force and I passed." You can just be like, "Well, okay, I guess I can just pass 2 and hang out,
Yep.
come back, and be happy."
One quirk with Resilient, and we'll see it again when we hit the terrain, that is one of my favorite cards in the set. If a guy has Resilient, loses Resilient, and gains it again, and has died, he still can't die. He will die the next time. It has some sort of like long card memory, even if the
Correct.
trade is removed.
It's a
it
once
goes back.
per something.
Once per game. So the effect does have an obnoxious amount of mental bookkeeping, but it's otherwise it's a cool effect. I'm not going to bag on Resilient too much. A new alliance. Let's.
Oh.
Everybody likes that other one. Let's print it again.
Yep.
Victory through deference. That was not very articulate of me.
So invest 2, draw a card means that you sort of play it for quote unquote free or something. It's worded very awkwardly, right? On 2 target dynasty, so it has to be 2 dynasty or 2 fate cards. You can't go 1 and 1 or something. I'm not sure. Like, why does it not just say the abilities on 2 cards cannot be used?
Yeah, I don't know. So is that what it means? So on 2 target dynasty or fate. No, I think if it had to be 2 or 2, it would say 2 target dynasty or 2 target fate cards, right?
Okay. So, I mean, why does it not just say on 2 target cards?
Because then it can target strongholds.
Oh my. Okay, well, I'm with you then.
Actually, when I saw
get
this
it.
card, I was sort of like rolled my eyes and wondered why they made strongholds cards. I know it was weird, like a weird thing about
Sensei 2 are neither Fate nor Dynasty cards,
Yeah,
so they
so
don't want
can't
to hit
target.
Strongholds or Sensei. This is a fine card. If you're being like harassed by certain kinds of personalities, then this has some real value. What do I see it? I see it being played perhaps in honor decks to shut down like a naval shoot me in the face, or perhaps Shizuka to try to buy me a turn or 2 so they can't dishonor me. The fact that it's invest draw a card makes it pretty easy to justify putting into a deck. But I've never been really big on just spending a fate card just to shut down an ability on something.
Yeah.
It feels a bit too reactive to me. Victory through Deference is kind of a free roll because you get the follow-up action and you can do it in battle. This isn't those things.
This card, so this is not Victory to Deference. It does not have battle. It cannot hit traits.
Can't remove
The only
keyword,
place
yeah.
this card is straight honor meta for other honor decks. You'll be playing it to shoot their theater troops and whatnot on their turn to try to get ahead.
Yep.
If honor becomes popular enough that becomes a relevant interaction, then I'll set L5R down for a while. But
Yeah.
if that's the deck you play, and if in your play group there's another dude that's always playing honor too, and screw that guy, slam in a new alliance. Otherwise, leave it in your binder. Battle of Wits. This could have been contest.
Totally blows out some of our decks. By the way, I mean, blowing out an Anube Shiho with all your attachments or something like it has. I mean, some very basement game power.
Yeah.
Battle of Wits. So, okay, this is one of those like card manipulation things, right? Bow your target unbound personality and target another player's personality.
It's not. It's draw two.
Target draw the top
draw
2 cards of each fate deck. The one player whose targeted cards have the highest focus value in Chi, or if you tied, puts his 2 fate cards into his hand.
Yep. So all it is basically is you pick a guy, and I pick one of your guys, and then we add up my Chi and the top focus values of my top 2. And if
so, you just have to have a
sum,
higher. Yeah. So if you're this is a really great card, right? If you've got like you're playing a dueling deck, you bow your 4 Chi guy and show 2 4s. And they target their 2 Chi guy, and they show 2 other things, and then you get 2 cards. That's
you draw 2.
Really solid.
The problem is that it's a 1.
Except 1 focus value, yeah.
So it's a total grenade. I like it because it's a draw 2, and I'll certainly try to play it maybe in a deck that has like Voice of Experience.
It gives you information on your opponent's deck, right? They don't get to do anything with the cards. So like see the next two cards your opponent's gonna draw. It's a really
Yeah.
good card. I don't
We just have
know.
to find the right home for it. Maybe in Scorpion Dishonor or
Yeah,
something that could really benefit from that information of, okay, there's the next two draws. I know some things to name, or I don't know. I don't know what the home for is yet, but I'll find it because it says draw two cards.
Monk Military, where like your average focus value is like 3, and you've now got like the 5 chi monk.
Even
So
if you just
you'll
have higher
go,
chi,
like,
you know,
5.
maybe in like a Kensei deck, yeah, where you can make 5 chi consistently. So like 5 plus 3 plus 2 is
Yeah.
still 10. I target your 2 chi guy and 2 fours. And that's still because you win in ties, right? So if you have a 5
Yep.
chi guy, you target a 3 chi guy, then you can even win through 2 threes if you flip.
It's something we talked about when we talked about the one spell. So this is a card that adds an act. Like you play one card but draw 2, so you're actually gaining cards by bowing your guy, and so that's a good card.
It's like meeting
Just
the
it.
Cordy Eepers.
Yes, right. Exactly. So, is
I
this the terrain you're excited for?
no
Besieged
no
fortif? No,
besiege
this is not at all. This is
fortifications.
aggressive terrain.
This is the
Uh,
opposite of a train I'm excited for. This is just draft fodder as far as I'm concerned.
there's a lot of terrains in the world. This one negates the bonuses of fortifications. We don't think people should play fortifications. If they are playing fortifications, we'll just take those provinces anyway, giving defending personality whatever. It's just a fortification.
possible. Yeah, it's possible that Pew Pew decks will want something like this to reduce their people for ranged attacks. I don't see it.
It is engage. It's nice sometimes to be able to put a terrain out first as an engage to get like the effect pretty quickly.
It's slightly better than
Uh,
higher ground because of that, but it doesn't hit followers, so
yeah.
it is what it is.
You might
Uh,
play 1 to like give yourself like terrain diversity to beat the Encircled of Scorpion players. That's about it.
the right. The thing about Ivory Edition is that it's not a big defending edition. You defend on your last battle all in, and that's about it. Otherwise, it's just like some back and forth. So, do you think that this is the train you want to reach for to win the final battle? I think you got better options.
Absolutely not.
So,
Hey, remember? Do you remember when you had your papers going to China and those were improper papers?
they were. I thought everything was in order, and then I got to the.
And
I got to the checkpoint, and they're just like, nope, that seal's not accurate. Those are improper. This card is awesome.
And so you just chose to enter anyway because you had such a brazen disregard. I did a whole setup there. Yeah, I mean this is the new like who needs back to the front when I can play this and have discipline.
The most important thing about this card is that it is absent. The other most important thing about this card is that it cannot hit cavalry, nor the unicorn box. So it's not as good as you want it to be.
Yeah, it can't hit favor, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that it's not stopping, but it's not like if the thing and it gets blown out a little bit by the first card we talked about, a desperate struggle.
Yeah.
But it's still a good card. It's not quite as over the top as improper papers, but it probably wasn't meant to be. And discipline's really solid. So.
Yeah, so this is another one that's going to be environmentally dependent on how much move home is. So as we discussed, it doesn't hit a bunch of stuff. Add Ring of Water to the list. That's not a strategy. So there's plenty of ways to get through this, and every time you get hit by one of those ways, you're going to feel a little bit bad about your life.
Yep.
But
I don't think this is ever a triplicate. I think it's a 1 or 2 off, but it's a good card. I mean, it has flexibility. It interacts positively with a number of send home effects in the format. And people are playing those. People are playing Soul Sacks and Incapacitated and Deny the False Forms. And having discipline gives you that virtual card advantage.
Yep. Especially for high honor factions, they can dump it for a favor cycle and still use it. All right, bring them forward. This is the first example of kata. Or no, I'm sorry. It's not kata meta. There is kata meta in this set.
This is a kata with courage that gives your guys reserve. That's a really sort of interesting. And then given it karmic, we might have like a keyword bingo hit here. So if you're playing a deck like the Philippines deck with a ton of like followers, then okay. But I feel like if I'm playing a bunch of followers, I'm playing to the board anyway, so I'm
Yep.
just not really sure what I'm supposed to do with this.
And reserve
Like,
is an ability
if you
that
want reserve
goes.
followers, they exist, right? Like the Naga Ambusher. But just giving something reserve through a fake card doesn't. It seems sort of unhelpful to me. I guess
Yeah.
it lets you sort of save some gold.
Now, so the problem with that is that reserve is an opposed action. So like if I could
Right.
pray it and then attack and then only commit as much force as I need to the board, I would like that, but I can't. I don't get it. Reserve is an ability that's stock goes down the more cards you have because there's a finite amount of gold. The first reserve guy you buy is awesome. The second reserve guy you buy, you probably can't pay for. So
Yep.
this is a card that doesn't have as much value. You know, a card with a blanket effect like this, you see it and you sort of go, "Oh man, like all of them? Are you
Yeah,
really?"
you see it as like I'll play this and then I'll attack with just enough to take the province, and if he defends, I'll be like attach this follower and attach that follower, and I'll bring in this other card, and I just crush him, But it never really works out that way.
And it's important to remember that reserve is also tempo negative. If you had just thrown down all of those spearmen, you could then make a combined ranged attack and kill his big guy. But if you're playing him out one at a time reserve, he has an opportunity to kind of mess with you. So it's a cool card. Maybe I'm missing some wombo combo, but I don't think so.
Oh, right. You attack with just if he doesn't, you take the province. You buy. Okay.
The fact that it's not.
On to cautious contemplation. This is one of the. This is a design. Are we moving on? You got more bringing
Yeah,
forward
no.
talk.
So let's just keep going. This is the kata meta.
This is a really interesting. So we're starting to see these like when you karmic do X, right? So when you karmic, you may discard somebody else's kata. That's pretty neat.
This
And then
card's
is it
great
open?
because it's skipping the puddle meta only 365 days late.
That's great. That's true. Straighten your target about personality. If his last bowing was from another player's card effect and you paid 2 gold for this action, draw a card and you made So, man, all kinds of card meta here.
Yep.
So it's a straight
your
effect?
bowed personality. Okay. If his last bowing was from another player's card effect and I played gold, draw a card. Okay, so it's like a very strangely worded invest.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
It's a weird.
It's a open straighten effect. So if you were playing if you were like playing Way of the Unicorn or whatever that is, discovering the Daisho of Water, whatever that unicorn straighten effect, where
Discovering the Shokatsu of air.
yeah. So if you were looking for a card that straightens about personality as an open, this is a fine choice. It's a good you Imperial summons. Fine, I pay 2 gold straight and draw my card. And it is kata meta if that ever is something that we find ourselves in desire of. At the moment, we don't, right? We don't. This isn't anything exciting. 4 focus, open, straighten, meh.
Nah, this is a rare I will not be excited to be opening. Not a battle open, just an open, straighten a guy. How much limited phase bow is even being printed? How much limited phase interaction is even being printed? The answer is not much. So I'm not excited about this card. I don't think you
The
should
card that
either.
you might put in at first, and eventually it just gets squeezed out.
Well, it's a card that I'll jam into my young sensei decks just to hit that critical mass of karmic, and because that's the sort of deck that bows guys.
It does make me hate the show of power-based fear decks even more because they can just get I'll just cautious contemplation and
Yep.
take that.
Take that.
Courage beyond question. I sort of really like this art.
Very cool art and a very good effect as far as I'm concerned. It's a discipline card, so I automatically like it, and it's a discipline card with 2 really good abilities. This is like it's a poor man's spearhead, and a breaking the rhythm all in one with discipline.
Right, so you were talking about earlier how there's not a lot of great actions that sort of negate penalties and things.
Well, I suppose
this has that. And I actually really like the Give Your Samurai Conqueror, but also the Straighten the Unit thing is really interesting as well, because it means that, Conqueror doesn't automatically bounce you back, so it's like maybe if they tried to bow you and do some tie stuff and you win just a little bit, you see. I mean, it really, if you play Courage Bound Question, you really absolutely will have that guy to defend with if you don't lose the battle, and
That's what I'm saying.
I'm in
This
favor.
card is Spearhead with all kinds of upside. I think it's going to get played a lot. I think it's a very good card. Like Crab will reach for this card all the time. They're in the market for effects like this. I think Philippines Crane is going to play this card. I think that Big Idiot Mantis is going to play this card. I really like it. I think it's cool. Great art. Is the flavor text any good? Is this card a total home run? A bottle of Feather Travel says ice. I don't know. Maybe not.
These are the two buddies. This is these are the two Crane guys. The one Ken say we hate and his best friend.
Yeah.
But it's bros hanging out together. It gets
Word.
support from me.
I like bros. So yeah,
Onward
slam dunk
to
card.
Dirty Tricks. Okay, so I play when we were talking about the open straight. The open straight in a person was discovering the something of air. And in the same set, that was not Line in the Sand, Coming Storm. In the same set, there was Discovering the Daisho of Water. That's the battle straighten a guy, and if he's Lion Clan, take a follow-up, or if he has to be PH, take it. I play that card quite a bit. Discovering the Daisho of Water is a card that's been very good to me. And this is sort of Discovering the Daisho of Water for everybody. And I like it. I envision myself playing this card in spider decks so that I can straighten my Shiho and use him right away. I can even imagine myself playing him in like defensive honor decks where I'm like, whatever, play come one, you bow me, straighten, kill a guy, straighten a guy and take a follow-up action from anywhere. It's good. It comes with a dishonor cost. It comes with a lose to honor cost. But I think that it's as good as a battle straighten effect as we're probably going to see for the rest of the arc.
Absolutely. This card is Blowout City. You bow the guy with a really potent action with another bow effect, assuming that there's nothing that they can do about it, but hey, straighten and immediately take an action. Or straighten and neutralize your... This card's just great. If you don't care about honor, then this card is for you. So Mantis, Crab, I'm looking at you guys. Spider, play this card. It's really good. There's not a lot to say about it. It's a straightforward card. It's a
if you were playing something like Relentless or one of those sort of battle straighten effects, this is just better. This is better than the Ring of Air.
Yep.
So it doesn't straighten your followers, only your guys, but it's good.
Drawing First Blood.
Drawing First Blood.
So
as we go up, target. So focus effect kind of meh. Target your unbowed personality and bow him if he's defending. Move home a target enemy personality with lower chi. Gain 1 honor if your personality is a duelist. So it's a send home effect. It's an okay send home effect if you're attacking. And okay, that's
there's not a send home effect. It's got a point of honor stapled on there.
So if you're playing there's a lot of send home now, right? Mm-hmm. So what is this going in? This is going in. It's a send home effect for military dueling because it's got a higher focus value than Soul Sack.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, would I rather have Treachery and Deceit or this?
This is strictly better than Treachery, right?
There's Banishing Breath is like bow your monks and Shugenja to send people home, block supply lines. I'm pretty ambivalent.
I think the real competition.
This is a saturation card.
Or the new one.
No, it has something to do with focus.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, but
it's just about focus value. The only reason you're reaching for this is if you're playing some kind of duel. There's other better send home effects for pretty much every card type. This is a saturation card. This is like, you've got 6 send home effects and you want to get to 9 because they're going to have some number of interrupt or some number of move back in. I don't really like it, but I accept that people will try to play it. I will be looking for more powerful cards.
Fair enough. The question remains if duels are powerful enough to put a card like this into your deck.
Why not just play another duel? Right, if you're in a duel space, there's enough duels. There's other better things to do.
Emerald Ascension, I think, is a really cool card. This is
one of those
Beset from All Sides, the card from A Line in the Sand. This is actually the exact same card as Beset.
Only with dragons and magistrates.
It's actually
Uh,
better. Beset only puts one card on the bottom and the rest on the top. This lets you filter through all of the top ones, keeping one and tossing the rest. So
yep.
it's more like a banish
No
all shadows.
shuffle.
For 2 gold,
Yep.
it
2 gold.
it's not card advantage, but it is card selection. I can see certain builds of dragon dueling, reaching for it. It's a 4 focus value. It gets you
Enlightenment
more
deck,
duels.
right? You'll play
Yep,
this plus banish in your Dragon Enlightenment deck. It's a fine
absolutely.
card. We've talked a lot about these kinds of cards in the past. They're good. Card selection is good, but it's not great because it costs you gold and because you have to, at some point, you have to stop spinning your wheels and drive your car somewhere.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you're just better off just having a lot of engine and not a ton of like, let's try to dig for this and dig for that.
So it's a card I like a lot. I wish there was more. Like we're really gonna graze over it, or really gonna gloss over it here. I wish there was more I could say, but there's not. It's a good card if you want this sort of effect. Okay. All right. So on to escalating violence. This is a card you think is gonna be really good because it says you may only play one, and then you read it.
Right. So we've seen this kind of effect before. The idea of not being able to play it in multiples is because they don't want these huge blowout cities. And when you read this card, your mind might go to this awesome place of like, I attack with 10 guys and they kill one, and now I get +9/+9 out of a single card, and that's a huge swing. Except you only get the bonus while you're opposing a specific target enemy personality, which they might be able to eject. And oftentimes games are decided before we get into the 10 guy on 10 guy battle. uh, there's if it gave out +1/+1 tokens that I might be able to hold some value from, if I could play multiples, if the bonus was bigger, if this
Yep.
is not a card that you're going to actually end up playing. It's a card you'll think about every now and then. You'll sort of like the idea behind it, and there might even be a moment where it would have been the best card, but those moments are pretty rare. Compare it to something just like a strength and subtlety, where you're just like, you get -2, I get +2, 4/4 swing. If you have 5 guys and they kill one, you gain 4/4, 4/4 swing. It's the same thing. One card's very easy to play, one card's very hard to play.
Yep.
It's not. It doesn't actually work the way you want it to, and it never will. But it's a fun card, and I think it's a fun design, and I don't object to it being created. I think it's a good kitchen table card. The only one per battle was unnecessary.
Agreed. I don't think like if you could play trip this and blow somebody out, that's fine by me. I
I
think
wouldn't. Yep.
especially given the fact that one eject card and you're done in an environment that has not only Ring of Water plus long-term fruition, not and the Dragon Box, but also disappearing world style, and
Yeah.
any
A lot of ways
number
to
of the
get
new
yourself.
weapons. So ways to get out of battle. If you want to get out of battles, man, like you're out. Like this is the addition for you. What's interesting about the once per battle trait is that if this card didn't have the line about the enemy personality, if it was just after your guy dies, get +1/+1, I think there would be some decks that would want it, but they
Yep.
would want
It's
it as
also
a
worth
1 or a 2 of, not even as a 3 of.
It's also worth noting on a broad ideological level, your fear is like, man, if I killed a guy and they played this in triple clip, they'd totally just blow me out that battle. Well, sure. Like if your opponent plays 3 copies of one pretty okay card and it wins them the battle, like to me that's just a thing that happens in L5R.
Exactly. Like, should
That's the gameplay
deliberations
experience that happens, man.
should
Like
deliberations say
sometimes
1 per battle? Should
right. Sometimes you attack and they play come one at a time and you blow it up and they play another one and you blow it up and they play another one and you lose. Like it's okay, man.
yeah. Maybe they're worried about the chi bumps, but like really, you're worried that like if they triple escalating violence
End of end of
into like a
turn,
6 chi guy, and then you in an environment where deny the false form exists, like come on, this is Training Wheels L5R. I'm not happy with it, but it's a cool card. I like the art. I say that about all the cards that are like whatever, but
It's a fun idea. I hope to see cards like this. I'd love to see more like fun interrupts. You and I are not huge fans of what reactions used to be. And interrupts are just what we the new version of reaction. But when you make a fun one, it's pretty neat, right? And this is
Yep.
a fun one. This is one like when something bad has happened to you, do something kind of neat those are fun cards, right? This isn't some like boring, they're trying to kill your zombie, make 3 more zombies. Ha ha ha
Yeah.
ha. This is like something actually deleterious is happening. Negate its pain a little bit.
I know it's not like it at all, but this card reminds me of Be Prepared to Dig Two Graves, and I like that
Sure.
card a lot. Honed to a Razor's Edge.
This is a new move-in effect for monks and Shugenja.
It's so
Gives them a
good.
straighten effect.
Moves,
Has a
straightens, has discipline. I mean,
discipline.
if you have access
Yeah.
to Monks and Sujizo, play this card. Next preview. I don't want to be flip. There's just not a lot to say. It's that good.
It's got
It's
the absent, which is really important for moving effects. Not all of them have the absent, so you can do it if you don't have anybody there.
yeah, like
It's just
you all played
Just
back
straight-
to the
if you're-
front. This card is
you're
strictly
playing a
better than
monk
back to the
Shugenja
front.
deck. Yep. Well, not strictly because of the non-present sent home from the one kata, but it's really good.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, in defense, so calculated risk exists. That makes you like lose an honor or 2 and makes a fear 4. But this is an unstoppable fear 3. It's a generic battle action that people will play if they're in need for generic battle actions that they just want to get out of their hand. You can courage it, I guess. I want to do something a bit more powerful than play a fear 3 effect. But if you're really, you're trying to, you got to hit 40 cards, and sometimes that's a struggle for people, and you need something to do in battle, and there's 3 force cards around. So I
Nah.
guess this is okay, but I don't think I'm ever going to in defense. How about you?
No. This card isn't for hitting 40 cards. This card is for hitting 20 cards. You play this as just a straight draft action, and you feel fine about it. But never ever reach for this card in a constructed environment. I think.
I feel like it's like Unholy Strike was just range 2 card that people played a lot of, but it also had the as the bonus effect, and that gave it a lot of it gave it an extra dimension. If this was also Courage, like if this card was Courage, I could probably see myself playing it, but it's not, and so I'm probably not gonna play it.
Jade Ascension.
Okay.
This is the
This is
second.
the reader.
Yep. So this is the second card I mentioned was when we were reviewing. What was the name of the card I really liked?
Final Ruin.
Yeah, Final Ruin. So this is the other card that goes with Way of the Phoenix that allows you to use your spells over and over again. It's super important to realize that this is a rest of the game ability in an environment with almost no removal, and you can give this ability to somebody multiple times. So,
Yep. So
you
you
know,
really want to play Final Ruin, and you really want to play Final Ruin a lot.
this
you're
is the
gonna
card
just
for you.
jade it then.
And I'm
Yep.
building that deck, man. I'm gonna build that deck, and that deck's gonna be great. I'm gonna defend with a bunch of dirtily idiots.
And just
I'm gonna boost him to
blow me
huge
out.
force and chi, and I'm just gonna like blow you up straight and blow you up straight and blow you up straight, and that's 4 right there. In a deck that's gonna be
Yep.
drawing cards like a machine, I'm always gonna have access to this and multiple Final Ruins.
The fact that it's a home battle ability clearly reeks of for the love of God, will someone try Ray Sensei already? Can we why won't you do this? Someone please.
Obviously, I haven't built the deck yet, but my instinct from all this is that they overpushed Ray Sensei. Like
And it just,
these untouchably
on.
powerful, like the fact that I get multiple kill effects that you can't interact with in any way seems way over the top.
that's true.
So we'll see where it goes.
2 new factors.
Yep. This is our first trait that interacts with discarding from Courage, which is cute. I like it.
And you gain an honor, which whatever. But there is a need, so this is if it's in your discard pile, do something, and there's a couple more of these.
Yeah, this card is great. I think this is big game with Shibatsu Sensei. You'll be bowing a guy for the favor to discard it to draw a card, and then immediately bowing another guy to draw another card. So it's just straight card advantage in that deck, and that's cool, and that's great.
And that's a way to keep on cycling through. I don't have anything to say about it. Converting the Imperial Favor into just a general raw card is good. We talked about how we like Iwoko Miyaka,
Yep.
how we like the Great Clan Champion because they just let you hey, gain some card advantage, discard the favor, get back. This is a fine card, and I think you'll see it pretty much only in some esoteric Crane Honor decks and Shibata
Yeah,
Sensei
pretty much
Scorpion decks.
only Daigonon and Shibatsu Sensei. It turns the favor into draw 2 cards, which is awesome. So play it.
Yep.
If you're in those decks, play it. If you're not, leave it in the binder of no one of consequence.
This is another one of those give people Conqueror, but then you can give someone else Conqueror if you meet certain requirements. This one doesn't have enough for me. I don't think I'm ever playing this card.
No, I think that the other card that we really liked, the
Well, so they're different things, right? That one just gave it to a samurai. This one, it's like if you have a Yojimbo who happens to not be a samurai, or so, like you can give your Shugenja Conqueror with this card. But if you're playing Shugenja, you can Guidance and War. You only need so many Conquerors.
Sure.
And a card that just gives out Conqueror probably isn't enough. I think I might rather even just have like an army like a Tide to gain a couple force points from time to time.
I was about to reference it. I was about to reference Army Like a Tide because I think that clans that don't have a samurai to target with the other card are going to be low honor clans like Mantis or Spider, and those guys will just play Army Like a Tide because they'll usually be attacking a province down anyway. So, not much to see here. Obsidian Ascension. This card is so weird.
Really card. I love it. It's unusual and abstract, but it's really good. So I'm gonna start backwards, right? So you put this into play and get a weapon that's in play. Any weapon, give it to me now. And if you're a Lion Clan, you gain an honor, whatever. But it's like you take a weapon, and then they have to bow some stuff with force of 5 or greater to discard your card, and then they don't even get their weapon back in play. They get their weapon back into their hand, so you can like unsummon. So at best, you play a fate card and destroy their weapon. At worst, you play a fate card, make them bow some force, and unsummon their weapon. Like that's all really cool, man.
Hold on, because okay, I understand. I thought you could steal with it. Yeah, I mean, it only targets weapons.
Yep. Incredibly narrow, which is why it's got the karmic and the courage to make it, to let you talk yourself into playing it a little bit more.
And there's no Wormbone Katanas in this format.
Yep.
So
but there are weapons.
What are
there
we?
There also we might be missing something. There might be a gimmick where like you play it in Lion Honor, where it's like attach your weapon that gives you honor when it comes into play, and then put this out targeting your own weapon.
Sure, like Blessed Blade.
Stuff to get your weapon back, and then like play it again and gain a few more points of honor. There might be something like that.
Yeah, it's cute. Like play a Blessed Sword, pick it better, put it under, pick it back up. I don't understand why Obsidian, which is the Shadowlands champion, is associated with honor gain. That's clearly some stuff, some story prizes I wasn't privy to.
Let's take a look at the storyline credit, because the Obsidian Championship was won by your man, Danny Swartz.
Oh, I love Danny.
Was almost certainly playing Lion Blitz. So there you go. Also, this might actually be a piece of art I don't like. I don't really know what's happening there. It's some weird... It's like a Keppo or something hoarding a sword, but like if you look at the sword appears to be gigantically large.
No, it's a Zokujin, right?
Okay, it's a Zokujin.
Or no, the other ones that the Lion use.
Mujina?
I don't know, whatever. Anyway, this is a cute card. This is some abstract design. I don't like it. I'm never gonna play it. Maybe Paul makes some wacky decks and show me the light, but I don't see it.
I mean, it's really good weapon meta. I'm gonna play it when I really want to blow somebody out who's beat me with weapons.
I'm gonna put that in a time machine and play it last year. All right, ongoing Division.
Okay.
This is the card we referenced slightly in the Lion previews.
Yep. So, I gotta jump into my time machine, jump into the not so way back machine. Now you missed Samurai Arc, right?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't around for that.
I was around for the very beginning, yeah.
One of the things Brian Reese likes to do is sort of, delve into the game's past and find cool things that never quite had the light of day and reintroduce them. This is something I've talked about before. That's one of the things I like about Brian Reese. He spends time delving back into what's been done and thinking about how it could be brought into the current, brought into the present, maybe done properly. Sometimes he misses the mark completely, like when he tries to bring back I Give You My Name. or small farm, or one Koku. But sometimes he does stuff really cool, and then sometimes he just gives up. So Thorough Preparations is a card from Celestial, early Celestial, and it's in fact this exact card. There's like no difference. Thorough Preparations was like after it was discarded in a battle, so maybe it worked when it was focused, I guess. But it's the exact same card, like 4 focus value, common. When discarded, draw a card. I don't really know, like, I don't know why they didn't just put Thorough Preparations in the set. Like, why did, I mean, just reprint it at the common level? I don't know. But, Thorough Preparation was a fine card. Now, we had the Lightwater Bay, which was, of course, Brian Reese trying to update Darkwater Bay. And Lightwater Bay said, like, it was a region, you bowed it, you discard a card to draw a card, and so you discard your Thorough Preparation, you like draw 2 cards. It was a whole thing. And that's where this card will be good. There's the Love Letter Lion guy that's like you each discard a card and draw a card, and you can discard this and draw some cards positively. Also, it's a perfectly fine card to Tactician. It's a perfectly fine card to use to your draft stronghold. It's a really cool little common. I'll play it. I'll be happy to play it. It's not exciting, but it does what it does, and it does it well.
I'm going to break the other way. I'll say this card is a little bit exciting. These kind of cards are really good for L5R, and they really showcase the ways in which L5R is different from other games, because as a newer player or as a more casual player, you see a card like this, and it kind of doesn't make sense at first. And then you sort of stop and you think about what are the applications, and then you realize, like, oh, I can attack this and I get another card, or oh, I can play it with this, I can do the card. This is the equivalent, this is a really Johnny card in L5R. This is a card that it doesn't have a big bullseye painted on it for you. It doesn't say, I guess, a big arrow painted on it for you to say, put it in this deck, use it with this. Yep. It's up to you to find where to put it. It's done in a really elegant way, in a way that just meshes perfectly with L5R's mechanics. I love it. I think that more cards like this should be printed, not specifically like discard and draw card effects, but cards that are just really simple, elegant, and make players think a little bit, make players feel really clever when they build a deck that puts it to really good use.
The problem is the line between this and something like Obsidian Ascension, right? So you don't think Obsidian Ascension is a good card. You think it's a little too wordy, a little too reach around your head, a little too abstract.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hard to... And I think the problem is it's hard to have
of course
fun, clever design that's simple,
yeah, of course.
Right? But this nails it.
If for every ongoing division I have to have an Obsidian Ascension, that's fine. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, there's been a lot of vitriol towards Brian Reese in the community lately, and I've been back and forth. But when I see cards like this, I like the guys around. I like the guys heading L5R, and I really like what he's doing with the game. So
yeah, no, I like this card a lot. I like its design a lot. I liked it the first time he made it.
Open Ground.
Okay, this is the back to the front stapled onto a terrain. If you just can't get enough back to the front and or you want some terrain meta to go along with it, okay.
Well, this is much better than back to the front if it sticks, because they cannot mess with your guy. If you're holding 2 send home effects, it is strictly better than back to the front. If they're holding a send home effect and a terrain meta, it's strictly worse than back to the front.
You can target your opponent's guys, so that you can have a situation where I attack with all my guys, they defend and play oppression, and then you generate some force somehow, and you can still take the province, or maybe you can't, whatever, but you can still jam the open ground, and it'll have a sort of remote caravan effect and
Holy
pull
smokes.
them back in as a harpoon thing.
You know what? So, you know what the Wombo combo here is?
What?
Do you know it?
I don't. Lay it on me, bro.
Ambush.
Ambush. Oh wow. So there we go. So finally, after all this waiting and waiting, we have found a terrain that will allow us to happily play Ambush, which is really all we wanted.
Absolutely.
You didn't even see the offensive potential, did you?
Well, no. Well, I didn't see that. No, not at all. And once you mentioned it, though, it's like, okay, so I ambush. Yep. I send your guy home. Like, I want to proactively send you home so you can't mess with me. And then I open ground, bring you back, and you can't.
I love it.
React.
Instead of trying to go for like ambush naval kill you, I'll just go ambush naval send you home, play terrain, its
Yeah, absolutely.
absence. What do you got to do? Yeah, that's actually all pretty awesome. So we like Open Ground. It's a fun card. It interacts with other fun cards.
Yeah, I'll be trying to jam it
Overall,
into all kinds of decks.
yep. Overwhelming offense. This is one of those, so sometimes you get Jade Ascension, and you have to really think about how it's going to interact with the card pool. Sometimes you get Obsidian Ascension, you have to read it a few times and think about how does it work and when will I use this. And then sometimes you get Overwhelming Offense. Which
So
is they're like this is as unsubtle of a good card as they can. So what's a big number? 5's a big number. Here's a 5 force penalty.
boom, there you go.
And if you want, you can blow up a fortification.
Absolutely.
Boy, man, we're gonna be eating fortification. I'm gonna have my demolishing item, my siege item, and my overwhelming offense. The honor loss hurts. I mean, it keeps this out of some percentage of decks, but it doesn't hurt as much as you think with no Nexus Allies. Lion is off, Crane is probably off, but I think Dragon. It's around.
It depends on your personalities.
But every Spider deck, man. Here's my 3 copies.
Absolutely, it's absolutely Spider staple, Scorpion staple, Mantis staple, Crab staple.
It's a good Savior Province if you have like a single cheap Resilient guy, defend. Give him -5 force. Hope that carries you through the day.
Yep.
It's a good card. I'm pleased with it. I think there's a little irony to the title because I think I'll use it as much defensively as I will offensively. But
absolutely, card's great. I've got nothing bad to say about it. It reinforces my absolute will, my iron will to not play fortification holdings. And like, can you imagine? So this is like the absolute nightmare scenario. So I'm Johnny. I'm like Johnny L5R. I'm really geared up to play my Brotherhood of the Shinsi Sensei.
Yeah.
I go second. I'm playing against Lion. You go turn 1 I'm playing against Crane, let's say, more realistic. You go turn 1, buy gold. I go turn 1, Yahtzee, and buy my temple.
Yeah.
It's a temple. I buy a guy and a gold, pass turn. You buy another gold. Attack, overwhelming offense, bounce. Like, you have lost the game.
It's like, so remember when you had to pay 6 gold for explosives? How quaint. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There's a much higher risk associated with fortifications than we're choosing to acknowledge.
It's like it's just like playing the 4-for-4 in an environment where people should be playing colonial conscripts. Like, the potential for the blowouts are just too terrible. All right, Priestly Feud. This is a duel with a million lines of text.
Yeah, this is the reader. It's an enlightenment card. I want to take a moment and just expose my complete ignorance. So I have no idea what a Taryu Jai duel is. If you read the flavored text, it mentions a Taryu Jai duel, and I'm just like I'm assuming it's a duel that involves Shugenja in some way. There's clearly flames. I could Google it, I guess, but
Nope, not gonna happen.
I know the difference between Aijutsu and Kenjutsu. Like, I've picked up a thing or two here, right? Like, somebody was talking about room dividers, and I smartly mentioned shoji screen. Like, this stuff germinates in your head after a period of time. But Taryu Jai duel, I mean, it's going pretty deep. It's really, okay.
All right, so.
This is one of those cards. It's a near miss. Basically, it's you're playing Enlightenment, and you're worried that Today We Die isn't going to get it done, and it's a low focus, and you don't like it. So you put in a Priestly Feud. Maybe play 1. If you're really feeling salty, you can play 2. This card's never going to do what you want it to do, because the stipulation right at that first clause, if you control 1 or no rings, you got to play it early. You got to play it, so you play it. Let's say you have 1 ring. Let's assume you're playing Dragon. If you're not playing Dragon, but you're playing Enlightenment, you're not really playing L5R anyway, so we don't care that you're losing. Like, I'm sorry, that's harsh, but nobody else is even in the ballpark.
Yep.
You're playing with Dragon, you start with the ring. Let's say you start with, I don't know, water. You play your Priestly Feud, they come over, and they attack you, and this is the one time they're going to attack because they have to, and you drop Earth and Fire. Well, now you can't ever play Void, so that's really sucky. So you drop just Earth, and then you play another one, and they come over, and you play a duo, but now you have 2 rings, so you can't ever play Priestly Feud again. This is just like, it's so awkward to get it to do what you want it to do.
Yep.
Also, that like it forces them to attack, but if they're an honor deck, then they might just bow the guy and lobby for the favor. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to line up for this to work, and you're already playing Enlightenment. You can't. At some point, you just have to hope things line up your way. You know what I'm like? This is a card that you play to help answer a corner case situation that you shouldn't be worrying about because you're playing Enlightenment. You gotta just accept that sometimes they don't buy a Samurai, and you don't get to play Today We Die, and you don't get to play Earth, and just hope he can military them out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Enlightenment really taking on the chops. The Void, the rework of Void really just kicked Enlightenment in the pants. They made it so much harder. They made fire. They made Earth hard, or not Earth. They made water pretty much impossible. They made fire harder.
Yeah, water.
But
it takes a lot.
It really we can get around.
Videos. I've played Enlightenment in videos. I've won with Enlightenment. It's a fun deck, and sometimes things line up and you can win, but you can't be playing around with Priestly Feud. It's just not.
So keep those Tari Jai duels in the temple where they can't hurt anybody. Return to your feet.
This is the. Let's see what we can do to help out the Kensei decks for Spider, I guess. I mean, it's a fine card. It's a straighten effect, and it straightens his weapons if he's a Kensei. So straightening a unit, that's really good as a battle action. It's really good as an open action. It's a good card. I don't know if I'm ever playing that deck. I don't really like that deck. I can just give my dudes Conquer, but okay.
I would have preferred to see a courtesy that gave it an again ability that would let me use my weapons an additional time, but
yep,
you can't have everything. There's not a lot to say about this card. It's good if you're playing.
Another random courage card. It's really you're really starting to see courage, by the way, splashed across different strategies. So
yep. So
I don't have
fear.
I have no comment on it. It just reinforces the be super careful if you're a fear deck.
Yeah. A lot of these cards, like, they have courage and you get feared, and then you're going to sit there and wonder, should I play this as a courage effect? This one's specifically funny because the battle action is better than the courage. It's like, I'm going to courage to reduce your fear. Why don't I just straighten my guy?
Yep.
Scouting amidst the snow.
Hey, we like this card a lot because it deck thins, and it tutors for terrains, and you can do it as an engage, so I guess that might matter at some point. But it lets you play a bit of a terrain toolbox, which is fun, and you don't have to be opposed to do it, so you can search up your contentious terrains. You're going to see this card in triplicate in all kinds of scout military decks.
As those scout strategies needed more help, here it is.
In all kinds of, because it says scout, they'll think to put it in, but I would point out that the battle action is really good all on its own. Like, you don't actually have to have a scout to play this card. I'm playing it in all kinds of decks. I'm playing it in come one at a time decks where I can, like, defend someplace else. Like, they attack me, I let the province go, defend over here, go get my come one for the next battle. Tutor cards are good. Terrains are good. This is a card that this is a good card that gets me other good cards.
There's a lot of good terrains, so finally having access to a toolbox is really good. This
might be the card, by the way. This might be the card that most impacts the format going forward. I think scouting amid the snow is something that a lot of people are going to be playing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fear decks will want to get their fear terrain, and pew decks will want to get their pew terrain, and come one at a time deck will want to get their come one. And that's all fine. I might just play it to get my move back in to trigger my ambushes. Whatever.
You can even play it in your ambush. Like I ambush, you do something, I go get my thing.
Yep.
It's an awesome card. It's really good for Scorpion. They'll go get their encircled terrain. Everyone's going to be playing it, so you can go get your answer, but they know what your answer is now, so they can box whatever you get with scouting.
Right, and so that ends up being a little touch and go, right? Because if everyone's playing terrains and ways to get terrains, and I think that might be where the format would go if we were all very, watching and reacting and evolving and taking another step. But we know L5R players aren't really like that. We know that L5R players kind of just sort of hunker down and say, this is the thing I want to do. I'm going to do this thing as best as I can. but this is a really good card.
Yep, this card's the real deal. So you'll see it in all kinds of places you don't
Helpful
even
for blitz
expect.
strategies too. Like I'm playing it in my blitz strategies because I can just dig out my terrain that gives me force bonuses.
I mean, there's a terrain for every season, man. Like you
Yep.
blitz terrains. You have defensive honor terrains. There's the one that lets you gain one honor from everything that you bow. There's the one
Yep.
that gives you plus one force for every attachment that you have. You can go get that. There's dueling terrains. There's fear terrains. There's shooty terrains. Like this card's awesome. Put it in every deck. It's gonna be the chase rare from this set.
Yep.
So self
And
and no self.
uncommon, by the way, not at all rare.
Oh,
So,
really? Well,
extra bonus there.
I can never.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Great. So never mind.
probably should have been a rare. I'll be honest. Like I saw that guy. Like this might be the best card in the set. And,
Yep.
so
All right,
this
so-
is one of those. We like to talk about the rubbins, right? And I feel like this is the card. This is the rubbins for you, right? The like.
Oh man.
I karmic this card and I straighten my Ring of Void, which is no longer repeatable and no longer an open. So yeah,
Yep.
just the rubbins, man. I'm sorry.
So this is a weird card. It's like with In Stillness Forge the Soul, it just draws you a card. But
Yeah.
I think that we're reaching a critical mass in card draw where we don't need cards like this. This is a cutesy
Right.
way to draw a card. Maybe 2 sets ago I would have considered playing it, but now we have Strength of the Fifth Ring. Don't need it.
Yup. I don't understand why it only interacts with the Ring of Void. If it interacted with any other rings, you might be able to like sort of sell me in it in a young deck with your log. It's okay. It's more fate deck manipulation when we already have a lot of fate deck manipulation.
Yep.
I'm just kind of, I do really like this art though.
Yeah, I
I'm saying
mean-
it a lot this set, but there's something,
It's interesting. So this is a set that's focused entirely, or not a set.
You
this
don't,
is,
you don't know this. This is actually how Jesse passes his time in China. He sits around naked and tattooed with a naked and tattooed girl and thinks about what's going on with the environment.
Absolutely. Nothing good, as it turns out.
That's right.
This sort of effect is really interesting, and being able to look at your top cards and pick one and put it back. The problem is that in Stillness Forge the Soul exists, and they keep printing all these cards like Beset from All Sides and like the Ascendance of the Emerald Champion and Self and No Self that let you look at cards and pick one. But in Stillness Forge the Soul exists, so there's really no reason to play any of those cards over that card, which is free and reusable and hits 5 cards regardless of any
But
of the
that's
factors.
not. But you're playing the card as it exists and as it can be played. But that's not how it's supposed to be played, man. Like not everybody looked at In Stillness Forge the Soul and said, "Hey, this is a thing that lets me like rearrange my top 5 cards every single turn all the time." Like that's just not.
In fairness,
that's not what they were.
That was all you. I didn't even see that. That was all you. So props to you. Let's look at Serenity. I am a brown coat. I'm a brown coat. I contributed to the
The
Kickstarter.
fact that
I
every single person is gonna like make so and they just because they know how I am, they're not gonna be able to help themselves. There might be like alternate art Serenities out there that feature stupid spaceships. And it's frustrating because this is an actual card, right? This is a range 3 attack. It's Saruchi technique as an unstoppable.
yeah.
And
it's
if
gonna
you
be
go
played.
second, it might be better. It's mostly just Lion, I think, because they have the plethora of 3PH guys. But Crane, I guess, could do it too. And Saruchi technique's a fine card.
Yeah, it's just
Well,
all
I
the
tried
the
to-
courtesy's straight gravy on this one. You never play it thinking to have it. It's just sometimes like, oh
Well,
wow.
Will I try to use it with Shiba Tsukimis and make some range 5s? Yeah, probably. Just because I'm the one guy who still keeps trying to make that thing happen.
Yeah.
But
She's
it's,
fetch,
you know,
man.
Saruchi technique was a fine card. This is a format with all kinds of targets for range 3 attacks.
Yep.
And it's just good. I don't think Mantis will be able to get to access it, even though they really want to. Unicorn is a place where you might see this. They have some 3PH guys. They might probably like you really want 3PH to get it to go, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is solid. Dragon even maybe. I don't know. It's a good card. People will
The-
play it. Jokes.
The reason why we know this is playable is because we were playing No Mercy in a lot of decks and we were always happy with it.
Yep.
and
Uh,
that's the middle
what's
action
the
of the
other
scout chain. That
Fearful Volley
yeah.
is another one, right? I mean, these
So
are
this
just
is
these.
strictly better. It comes with the same caveat that the first action, Desperate Struggle, came with, that we're not positive how easy one off-turn gold is to have
Yep.
in an environment without a
But
bunch of farmland.
this has the bonus of being, a really good offensive card, right? Like
Yeah.
this is something like you just attack, they defend, you shoot them in the face, and that's all.
All right, yeah, defensive card. So this is a
Yeah.
super versatile card. It's great. I think it'll find its way into a lot of defensive honor decks. Um, it'll find its way into any high honor faction will play this card, which is at odds with its courtesy, but whatever. Crane plays Lion sometimes.
Yep.
All right, Sinister Deception. Give another attacking personality -4 force. I hate. Maybe I don't hate it. So
I hate it. So we've seen this card before, right? We've seen Deception Revealed, which like had some more upside. There's like this exact card has been printed. I think it's even been printed with just like give a guy -4 force. What deck is playing it is the thing. Like I mean,
well,
if it was a 4 focus value, every dual deck on the planet, a -2 focus value, it's some kind of, I don't know, like non-defensive, like a Lion Honor deck might be in the market for this, I guess. 4 force, I guess, is a solid number. I feel like if I'm building my deck to be defensive, I need to have a certain amount of force before -4 force gets me to where I want to be. It feels like a deck card that you might have put in like I don't know, like a Crab Honor deck some ways away.
all right.
I'm
Well,
not,
let's
I'm
back
not
up for a
sold.
second. We were high as kids huffing glue on unstoppable offense, and this has
It's a
no
little
honor
bit
loss.
fortification.
It's unstoppable, and it's only one less force minus. So what are
But
we
you can
poo
never
pooing
play it
this?
offensively, and like
Oh,
these,
okay. Yeah, yeah, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair. I missed the attacking. What I was going to say was that I liked unstoppable on it because I was going to say is that I
they
hate
can't
unstoppable
interrupt
on
you.
it because they can still hit it with all of the like retroactive get rid of your force pumps. But the one that they printed in this set, the discipline
Isn't.
one that gives you conqueror, is an interrupt, not a battle.
So yeah, I mean, I don't.
It's whatever. Yeah, like you said, how many people are in the market for this? Probably not so many, but the people that do want to play it, I think for them it's a pretty solid action.
I can envision any number of times where like this is the card I want.
Hmm.
But I also know that I never ever played something like I never played Defensive Blockade. I never played. I played Deception Revealed a lot, but I could use it offensively.
Yeah.
I never played whatever the other -4 force attacking card was, right? These kinds of effects tend not to end up making the cut because they require a little bit too many scenarios to be perfect. I need to have some amount of residual force on my end,
Yeah.
and then I need the 4 force to bring them down to a level where I'm sort of winning the battle. Uh, I just don't like it. I need to not care about focus values.
Yeah, fair enough.
I, so
I'll give it a
people
try
will
in
play
the
it.
Phoenix. I'll give it a try in the Phoenix Bow Everything deck as
Yeah.
a way to get through attachments like for your stuff. I put you to 0 with this and then kind of tie you. But it's a
So
stretch.
from a -4 force, we go to a -2 force, which is unstoppable. If you have a scout, take a follow up. I don't think it does enough, but it's really just a way to turn your range 2 attacks into killing 4 force
Right,
people,
and that was
right?
the point I was gonna make. Is like, would you play this if it said interrupt, give a range attack +2 force? Like, would you play precision without the battle action?
Yeah. So
Which is what
I
this
guess
is.
this could take the Unholy Strike slot that a lot of places have.
It's just not as versatile as Unholy Strike. I mean,
Yep.
the melee or range 2 on Unholy Strike matters a lot.
Yep.
So remains to be seen. I do think this is a card that's worth testing out, though, and I think it's a card that'll pop up as a singleton or a two
Scouts
of
will
in some
play it
decks.
because it lets their Fearful Volleys. It lets you bow your scout to Fearful Volley, 5/4 Sky,
Mm.
and that's a big investment. But it's an investment that when it works, it's worth doing. So little changes matter, but yeah, it's good enough that it'll make its way into these scout decks with the pew pew ranged attacks. Getting a follow up action is good,
Yep.
and I'm fine with that.
Stay behind me. More Yojimbo cards. Stop. Yojimbo are also fetch. Just stop. It's not going to happen.
I have to read it here. Target your unbound if bow him, or if he is a Yojimbo, bow your unbound Cordio Shugendra at any occasion to make a melee attack equal to your target. So, bow a guy. Well, so like we have this exact card already. Last arc or last set. We have the benefits of honor is bow your samurai, make a ranged attack equal to his chi.
Yep.
This is the exact same card, only it makes a melee attack. And then some stuff, if you have a Yojimbo, you can instead bow a Cordio or Shugenja at home. So defend with your Yojimbo, target him, bow a guy at home, shoot you. That's good. Full
Yep.
stop. And it's an uncommon instead of a rare. If you have, it'll see some play. Bow your dragon guy, like so people play Wrath of Osana Woe. It's a Wrath of Osana Woe. So it's a fine card.
Yeah, this is just another card to go with the spell that I really like that gives +2/+2 to a guy.
Absolutely.
So I will try this card out in my Rei Sensei deck because I'll be giving my Yojimbo Idiot like +4/+4 defending, bow my guy, make like a range 6. Burning Spirit is the card I keep talking about.
My monk decks. I've got a new 5 chi monk guy that I can bow to make a ranged 5 attack.
Absolutely. So I think this is a fine card. If you can make high chi, if you have high chi, play it. But it's not all that exciting. And I think that all the extra text after all the Yojimbo stuff is really going to come up.
Yeah, it's all whatevs.
Yeah, don't think of this as a Yojimbo card. Just think of this as a straight bow killer guy, which is what it should work out to be. All right, Sulphurous Swamps.
So now this forces players to discard after each time one of their own actions moves a person out. So if I move their guy home, the opposing player discards a card.
Yep.
After player's action. So maybe you'll play this in the Love Letter deck as a way to get them to discard cards?
Maybe.
I'm trying to think, is there...
It's a way to stick it to terrain decks, right? Like Scorpion or Come One deck, Encircle to Come One decks. Like I blow up your terrain playing this terrain. Now if you want to get rid of it, you've got to discard a card, which you could very easily just have 2 cards, both of which are encircled.
So making your opponent discard cards is a powerful. I'm trying to think if there's a way to like trigger it multiple times, or like I play it and then I send. I mean, I guess if I play it and send all their guys home, they can like discard their whole hand, and then I can like bring them back with the holding and send them home again and make them discard more cards.
It only discards if they go home by their own effects.
No. After each time one of their own. Boo hiss.
Yeah, so they really figure out a way to kibosh all of that.
After a player discard, each player's discard a card after each time one of their own actions.
Mm-hmm.
Move the person. If I move their guy home, do I?
You discard a card. Yeah, it's symmetrical.
Oh wow.
This card is not the tops. But like I said, it's just for sticking it to.
Yep. You play your 1, you toolbox it.
Yep, you toolbox it off your thing. If you're playing a scout deck, I would engage this out against the defensive honor deck. I would really get them with all of the relocating the courts and.
Yep.
Wow, I'm totally blanking. The one that sends, strategic withdrawal, stuff like that.
Strategic withdrawal, yep, all that stuff.
So this is like honor meta for the honor decks that you're so worried about. Okay, Soul of Man. Let's talk about this card. This card has a lot of elements to it.
Yep. So it makes a guy Cola, which is of course very important for your conspiracy token deck.
All right. Well, okay. Sarcasm aside, it makes a guy a courtier, which is not for nothing. There are courtier effects. There's the Beset from All Sides card that lets us look through our top couple cards and draw. There's a number of battle actions that key off of courtier. So this allows us to make anybody a courtier. And then it gives us this ability that lets us bow guys conditionally. I'm not in love with this card.
You were making fun of me. I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to who's the guy you can buy back from the dead? Daigatsu, whoever, who's got Destined. So,
Hmm.
like, if I play Kobai Sensei, my Kolat guys have Expendable, so I
Yeah.
can make him Kolat
Eat
and
him,
then
draw a
kill
card,
him,
bring him back, draw
draw
a
a card,
card.
bring
Yeah.
him back, draw a card. Like, yeah, I got some ideas here.
I mean, like I said, if this card was in the last set, I would have played that deck, but now I've got Strength of the Fifth Ring, so I don't need any of this
Yep.
reach around my nose stuff. It's soft control. I like that
It'll
they're
work.
putting.
I feel like it's designed pretty straightforwardly for like crab dishonor, right? Where it's like you'll have a bunch of these cheap guys and you'll bow them and they'll have to pay gold and you'll try to manipulate your opponent's gold. I don't think that'll work that well,
Yeah.
but I do think that if you're playing like a dragon deck and you play this and you target them and they have to either bow their guy or spend gold, that disrupts their economy either way and it opens up an offensive, it opens up a hole for you to get in there and take a province. I mean, I think there's in a soft aggro control shell, I can see this card
Now,
doing
see,
some
I
good
thought
things.
I thought about the card the same way. I thought, okay, in a deck where I've got some extra dirtily guys, I can do it. Controlled by the active player. So if it's your turn, you cannot target their guys and bow them.
No, no, you do it during their turn, right? You do it during
Right.
your opponent's turn, and they have to either bow someone or spend some gold, which means they'll buy less in their dynasty. And then on your turn, their defenses will have been weakened.
Okay, sure. I think this suffers from the same problem that all of the stifling wind stuff suffers from. Like 4 gold isn't that much. Maybe if you go first and you get them on like turn 3 or something,
Yeah,
then you can stifle them. But past turn 5, this card's pretty much going to be a blank except in triplicates, and then the first 2 aren't going to do too much.
it slows people down. It never stops them, and generally, like so far, that hasn't been enough, right? Like the
Yeah.
slowdown effects haven't been impactful enough to let you like get that extra turn or two you need to win. It just hasn't happened then.
Well, the real trick is building a deck that can both do something proactive and run all the slowdown effects. So if I
Yep.
build a deck that plays Soul of Man and Stifling Wind and Contested Market and has the Crab guy that can reduce holdings, okay, now
Then
what?
maybe. Yep.
But like, so here's all this stuff, right? And I buy all this stuff early to get this huge engine set up. Now what? Like, what am
Yep.
I doing proactively? I've committed all these resources into setting this up.
Still got to win the game.
Yep. So it's a lot of spinning your tires and feeling really clever and sneaky and colati, and then realizing that like, well, the dude can just like, you've extended the game by 2 turns, but then extended your requirement for winning the game also by 2 turns because you haven't done anything for those 2 turns. So you're just totally washed. Less than washed because your opponent's developing his board even though it's a little less than what it would have been. Okay, the thrill of daring. I dare
This
you to
is
put this card into a
the
deck. I dare you to say something good about this card.
so it's a disciplined it's often disciplined one, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
go second, which is your military deck, your low honor military deck, and you were playing back to the front, you play this instead. This is I really hate the Imperial favor. Please stop trying to use it on my guys card. Like that's what it is. It's like please stop. Like I'm never gonna not be at the battle because you lobbied for the favor. And like that's
Yep.
what this is. And if you want to play 2 of these and 2 of something else instead of playing back to the fronts, I won't object. Maybe you want to
Yeah, no
play like
straighten.
no straight. Um, then
So
it's gonna
I'd argue that while back to the front is in, we should be playing that instead of this.
right. So what the combo would be is you would play 3 of this and 3 of the improper papers reprint,
Mm-hmm.
and like that would be your 6 cards. And it's like you either if it's sending you home unbowed and you assign there, you can thrill of daring and then have the discipline later, or you can improper if it's gonna bow you like with a block, you play the papers.
Mm-hmm.
That's like that is just military decks need to have some answer for multitudes of send home, and this helps open it up, right?
Yep.
And
Agreed.
if the send home you're running into most of the time is favor plus deny the false form plus soul sacrifice, like a lion honor deck or something like that, this will answer all of that very nicely.
Agreed. And there's plenty of other bile floating around in the environment, so you just put 2 and 2 together. 2 swords, 1 cut. I bet it's a Kensei card.
Bow your target unbowed weapon to reduce a target enemy followed by you may remove one of the enemy card's abilities. Okay, I don't hate this card. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. We played allied efforts in a couple of decks. So you have a force efficient item, 2 force for 2 gold, and then you turn it into a Caillou axe, and then maybe remove an ability. Okay, kind of hate this
Yeah,
card.
this card is garbage. I was letting Paul sort of
How
get there by himself.
powerful? How powerful is removing a card's ability?
Not very.
It's
Well,
not powerful enough to go
right.
in
If
there.
it bowed, I don't understand why it doesn't just bow the guy. Like if he's got a Kensei bow instead, something like that. That also
Yeah.
removes the ability just fine. Like nope, nope, nope.
So people will
Next,
try to play it. People will come.
it
People will then
says
search
yeah,
for better actions.
it says Kensei on it. If you'd like to jam 40 cards that say Kensei onto it, this is for you. Otherwise, play good cards.
Yep.
Undermining the Otomo.
Okay, this is another one of these like cool, weird little karmic things. So you karmic it, and if you could have just lobbied for the favor, instead you gain it without lobbying. So that's neat. And then it
Does
gives you
yeah.
like a family library type effect if it's in your graveyard. So those are
Yep.
fine effects. Uh, I guess you'll play this in some young sensei decks.
Absolutely.
But
I mean, this
again,
is an auto include in Young Sensei decks.
yep.
Synergizes with being able to flush Karmic guys into the discard pile. I think
Uh,
it'll be played in a lot of decks because it's just a little more convenient and easier to play than Family Library.
yeah,
You can
family
tutor
library
for it.
is a fine holding, but it's a 2 for 2 that blows itself up, and turns out those aren't very good.
Now, it's
So
important to realize that it's an even if on the open, so you don't have to Karmic it into your bin before you can
absolutely,
use it.
absolutely, you can just put a dude in, and it's always nice to be able to just flush things and get them back. And if you don't have a thing to ever get back, you just karmic it away. It's a fine card. We used to have cards like this all the
Yeah.
time. It used to be very common for every Fate deck to have 2 or 3 of effect like this. That was like, put a guy in your provinces to help make sure your turns are what you want them to be. They sort of got faded out because people thought the games had become a little bit too robotic, a little bit too consistent. I
hmm
don't mind them coming back a little bit. So,
I always quite liked them, and I always liked was it Untimely Arrival better than Marashimi Mura. So I like this
right.
card quite a bit. I'll end up playing one to three in pretty much all my decks that have space for it. The one bummer about the trait is that your Shikigawa's Court style abilities don't bump it up, right? Because it's just a straight family honor check. It's not a lobby
Yep,
check.
that is correct.
So sorry, Shimushu Spider. Try
On the
again.
other hand, it lets you get the favor against Crane, even like maybe you're playing like Crane on Crane and you went first, but you can't get the favor because they have their stupid +5 bonus, but you have more honor, and so then you could get it or
Yeah,
something.
for sure. So there's definitely some cool plays there. Now, speaking of cool cards,
Love this art. Maybe my favorite art in the set. I mean, it's just like, they're sucking the soul out of a guy. Big fan.
it reminds me of the paintball mode from GoldenEye 64 for some reason.
Oh wow, that's nice. Okay. I mean, it took me a second, but I see it now. I see it. But
So this card is super cool with long-term fruition. You can
sure.
always gas it out with in the lion box. You can always gas it out. Lion, dragon got some. Their guys were so-so, but with the 5 chi guy, with the melee 5 card that they get, with some of the spells that they got some gas, and this card is part of that.
Randomly well, I don't think randomly. Amusingly full focus, so you can like play it in some kind of dual shell or tactician shell if
Absolutely.
that's what gets you excited. I mean it's a good card. I do think that this is along with stuff like Final Ruin. Boy, I hope people start playing a couple more. I mean, attachments are gonna have some value to them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you
Um,
can't if you can't just swing in with some big guys and hope for the best. Uh, is there one ring that you can play easily over and over? No, not really.
I disagree. Air is really easy, and especially now with all of the ways to like get the favor, drop the favor, take the favor. There's a lot like Otomo, undermining the Otomo, for instance. The open action on that. Oh, it's a political. It's not a favor open. Never mind. But I
Either
stand by
way,
air.
I think that you know it's a card that maybe you don't want in, maybe you don't want three, but maybe you're playing Dragon and you want three and figure, hey, I just want to play it once, you know?
I don't know, man. Like I'm running
You can pick up
triple.
a Bowdring too, so you
Yeah,
can like use your ring first and pick it up. It's a good card.
I'm playing triple long-term fruition in lots and lots of decks, and it gives you a use for the second and third ones. Especially since now we've got the one for one hold'em. We blow up, get our void, draw a card with void. They attack, pick up void, blow up their guy. Next turn, long-term
Yep.
fruition, void back into play. Like so much goodness, so much goodness.
Lot of stuff to look at for this.
This is
So
a cool
much.
card, cool design, interesting cost. I think it will see some play. Probably will play it with higher frequency than the average person.
Yep.
Maybe I don't know who's right. I'm not confident enough in this card to believe that putting it into all the decks that I can think of is good.
I think you'll only gonna put it. I think it's gonna be in a lot of Dragon decks, and one or two other long-term fruition with Temple to get ring decks,
Hmm.
and that's it. There might be. I mean, there might be something like some Mahatsu Sensei deck, or you might find yourself playing it with the new Fudo Sensei from 20 Festivals that we'll talk about at some other time. But
Sure.
that's only gonna be around for a month or two, so whatever.
Yeah, and this the real bottleneck here is if you're running multiples, you've got two in your hand and only one ring in play. No number of
Exactly.
long-term
So.
fruitions makes it good.
I am a little curious if I play it in Enlightenment. Like, I just like play the rings, but just replay the rings. I don't think so, but maybe.
No, I don't think so. If so, you can play a ring at any time, right? So if I met the conditions to play that ring earlier in
No,
the
no. After
turn,
means immediately after, right?
okay,
So also the way the points work, if you read the rings individually, they're pretty hard to play at any time.
okay. So next up is unexpected attack. This is just straight terrain meta. Draws you a
Yeah,
card. There's not
group
much to say
terrain.
here.
You're not. I don't think. I think there's enough terrains that do other things. You'll never go to this. Even in a toolbox, you have lots of terrains.
You'd always, yeah, I think, yeah, you'd rather just get a terrain that has a proactive effect than just
Something,
draw a
yeah.
card. Unforeseen cost. Now, this is more just honor meta.
So, or dishonor meta. So, like, before you brilliant cascade me, you have to bow a second holding.
Yep. Which they'll do
Okay.
every time because, like, pay extra gold to proceed to a victory condition. Like, well, okay. Like, what am
Yeah.
I gonna do?
Uh,
Not win the game?
yeah, and it only stops honor from like holdings. I don't. So, if honor rockets built around poorly placed gardens was a deck or suddenly becomes a deck, then fine. Play this card in a deeds not words type capacity to try to slow him down and buy a turn or two. But no, I don't. I don't think I will. Thanks.
No. Again, I think this is another card that falls into that honor versus honor meta category, which we're seeing a
Yep.
lot of here in this set. But it's for this fight that doesn't exist, like this lame little slap fight that no one really cares about. Like, here, have another velvet glove to put on.
Yes, right.
All right, so this card is one of my favorite cards in the set, Valiant Defense. I think
Really? You're
I
really
think
excited about it, huh? Is
it's
it the
not.
courtesy ability to take an immediate additional action?
Yes, I like that you put it. It puts a train into play. It blows up a train. You get a follow up action. That's a super cool design, and that's all I have to say about the card. Next card. So it gives everybody resilient.
Yep.
Um,
And it's a full focus value terrain. I always feel compelled to point this out for like tactician-y decks.
yep, it's a
You'd
four.
never played in a dual deck, but tactician.
It gives everybody resilient in a set that has a toolbox card that allows you to go find any terrain for no
Terrain.
cost.
Yep.
Obviously, they could blow up the terrain and then they'll rain all over your parade and you'll feel really bad. I
Right.
recognize that that is a possibility.
But
However,
if you time things correctly, and maybe you defend and you force them to play out their hands, and you play out your hands, and you're down and you're losing by just maybe like 1 point or something, and then you get this out there, it could totally save you and like just completely swing the game. It's a
not
really
just
powerful toolbox.
yeah, not just totally yeah, like it allows you to play a strategy, an attrition strategy of purposefully chump defending, killing
Yep.
guys, and then valiant defensing, and saving the province, denying your opponent that tempo, and then next time when they attack, you'll have this even bigger army that they can't push through. And
Yep.
so for defensive honor decks, this card is totally gas. Offensive, even for offensive decks
Yeah,
that
for
want to
just
make
like
a mid-game defense.
pew scout decks on a Mantis or something where like their force is kind of lower and like you attack in, you shoot some stuff, shoot some stuff, shoot some stuff, play valiant defense,
Yep.
you know.
And
Cross your
then
fingers a little bit.
cross your
Yeah.
fingers a little bit. There's no real way to protect your terrains once they're out there.
Not right now. There was, I mean, in Arc currently, there's the one item, but it
Yeah,
rotates.
there's the map
and
of the
it's
northern
not-
colonies. The thing, I mean, I think you might want an effect like that if you're going all in on this, because you don't want to get blown out.
I
But-
would just try to play this maybe with some kind of like you play 3 copies plus the 3 search effects and just try to always have one.
Yeah, if you decide to have it.
Maybe you play it with some sort of like Arani Sensei Tacticians and then have a Sun Returns to negate their putting their terrain out.
Yep, something like that. But I think this is a super cool card. I think that it has a lot of
It lets you
potential.
play the game. It lets you build a deck and play the game in a slightly perpendicular way to what most people are doing, and that's always fun.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be trying this card out. I think you guys should too. And I really like that it gives Resilient a chance to shine.
Yep.
We are not yet beaten.
I don't have any comment. It's a interrupt for ranged attacks and then a focus effect that I don't think I'll use very much, if ever. I mean, any other focus effect, like you focus it, maybe it lets you get them. Like, I swap you. I was gonna lose, but I changed my 3 with your 4, and aha.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that. The fact that it's a 3 and not a 2. Also,
A card that doesn't do anything unless it's focused or your opponent has melee or ranged attacks that are wrecking your day. There's nothing there.
yep. So I had this little rant during the Crane video about how focus effects could be this thing. Go watch that and then come back and listen to me say mea culpa here and say there's not. They're really locked into this idea of focus effects just affecting duels, and so who cares? Like,
Yep.
if you want to win duels, you're gonna win duels anyway. You don't need this help.
It's
Alright.
true.
And the last card, Zanzan Meditation.
Okay, so I want to point out that meditation is not Jade legal. That's just really important to remind. There's a certain type of player out there. I don't know if you catch this reference at all, but just a reminder, everyone: meditation, not Jade legal. You might put it in your decks for your Jade tournaments if you're like a Brian Flores type of guy, but sadly, meditation still not Jade legal.
Zazen
Okay.
Meditation, however, is one of the
Yeah.
few ways to get +2 chi and still be able
It's
to
got
duel.
this cool little invest, which that's neat. Draw a card, that's always fun to put on there. It lets you bully duel. Bully dueling is something that they've moved away from. It's harder to do. There's a chi wall, but you got weapons. You can, if you really want to work at it, you can get a bully duel thing happening. The question is, what are you dueling with your bully dueling? And I
Right,
don't.
exactly.
I mean, I don't know, right? Like, so I have a 4-chi guy, and I give him a 2-chi weapon, and he's 6. And that'll win most duels, but maybe not all duels. So I meditation up to 8. Well, now I'm pretty much winning every duel. But what series of cards am I playing?
Yeah, to
Bully
what
dueling
end?
works best in the open, right? It works best with facing your devils, or I guess a magistrate falls, but that's on its way out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Kokujin would be like a fun thing to try to, put him up to 6-chi and steal some people's.
I guess.
Maybe just give him an item instead.
Right, so this is a 1 focus value action that gives 2 chi. In what situations is this better than Naginata? I'm going to go ahead and say it's never.
The only answer is if you're running into Wounded in Battle plus Strike from the Earth decks.
Sure.
Because they could play around. They could target the non-Naginata guys. And it's like, okay, I Wounded in Battle that guy. I'm like, okay, I negate your penalty and give my guy +1 force.
Well, you can always just play Tea House.
Yeah, but let's live in a world where we don't do that. I mean, it's unopposed +1 force. And I don't know if there's a way to convert chi into force, but there might be.
Stone's
If I
Purity.
have, yeah, I mean, if I have what do I have? If I have like a card that's like gain a bonus equal to Shigenji's Chi or something, like it, there's some setup knockdown stuff I'm sure you can do with it, but it's a pretty, it's a common. What do you want from your common?
Sure, sure. Okay, so that's strategies. There was a number of cool ones. We liked making big. We like making big melee attacks, blowing up guys with rings, giving everybody
Yeah, there was
resilient.
there was a lot in this set that I feel like pretty good about. I don't know how I felt about the rares in general, but there's a lot of things that I'm going to be looking at and checking out. I think the card you're most excited about was the Jade Ascension because of the way it interacts with the
Yeah,
spell.
I
And
like Jade Ascension a lot. Obviously, the number one card in the set though is Scouting Amidst the Snow.
yep, I mean that's the one. That's the one that like I saw and I instantly thought about, and it's the one that's going to be featured in any number of my decks for a little while as I sort of push it to its limits and see what it enables, see what it lets me. It works in offensive decks, it works in defensive decks.
Yep.
You can box all kinds of stuff. You can use it just for redundancy. That is a card that I am very high on.
All right, guys. So that was a little bit longer, but there were a lot of actions to go through. Hope you enjoyed it. We have one more installment, and that's going to be for the two sensei. We'll talk a little bit at length
Three
about the.
sensei, three sensei.
All right, three sensei. We'll talk a little bit at length about the decks those enable. Um, that'll be more of a holistic discussion about decks and design and all of that. If you have, tell us about your favorite cards. Do you think Scout Amongst the Snow is the card? Do you think that Jade Ascension is going to make Ray Sensei decks are the real deal? Let us know. Leave a comment. Otherwise, good lord, this has been enough talk. I'm Jesse.
Hey,
That's Paul. See ya.